It's been over 2 years since I did my last studio tour video, and I don't believe I have done a proper video tour of my new studio since I built it. And pretty much today marks the second birthday of my studio. It was 2 years ago that I actually finished building this studio, and I've been in here for 2 years. How time flies so quickly. So I thought I'll do a quick studio tour for you guys now that I have a new desk as well, and most of the equipment are all wired in, and I've done a couple projects as well. So without any further ado, let me show you around Recording Studio 9. Well, let's start from heart of the system. My new PreSonus Studio Live 24 Series 3 digital mixing console. And everything is actually connected here. So my snake box, which is a snake box that all the microphones and everything gets connected into it, is connected behind there. And most of our gear that we'll look at a bit later on are also connected to my Studio Live mixer. And that's my central hub. It's a really fantastic unit because it's great when I'm recording. I have 24 analog channels that I can use to record. That's twice as much as what I would need here, but it's fantastic unit. And at the same time, being moving faders, all these faders are motorized. That means I can switch it into a DAW mode, and then when I'm running Studio One as my DAW, I can control the faders to do automation and all of that. So it's fantastic unit. And it's just been working really great. I had it for about just over a month now, and I'm loving it. You know, from recording sessions that I've done here to mixing sessions, it just does the job great. And of course, right in front of it is my ultra wide, 29 by 9 or something ratio. So it's really wide, fits nicely in front of it, so I can see everything. All my tracks line up really nicely. I've got enough room for everything in there, whether if I'm using Studio One, whether I'm using Reaper or Cubase or Reason and Samplitude and so on. So they all fit in very nicely. Next to it, I also have the original fader fort from PreSonus. I also use this with my Studio One and works really great, very, very handy, because it's got some of the options that allows me to control Studio One, where it's a bit tricky to do it on Studio Live mixer. So really, really handy. Sometimes if I'm not using the mixer, I still have the fader port to do small mixing and things, because I still have my PreSonus 1824 right here. So in conjunction with my mixer, I still have the 1824. And the job of the 1824 basically here is when I'm editing and mastering or mixing sessions as well, sometimes. So the big Studio Live is not turned on. This will be turned on. At the same time, the inputs and the outputs of my 1824 control and send signal in and out to my compressor, the ART compressor, the Behringer tube composer, as well as the DBX 1066 compressor. These are my bus compressors. So whenever I'm doing a bus compression and I need to use analog hardware for my drums, let's say, my bass guitars or the guitars or the vocals, and I need some analog compression, a bit of saturation and all of those things, I can use those routing through my 1824. So that works really well as well. At the same time, whenever I'm listening to music or YouTube or anything else that I need to do, I don't really need to turn on my Studio Live mixer. I can just turn on my Studio 1824 and listen through them. Now on the other side of my desk, I have my input section. So I've got my Tube Mic Pre from PreSonus, and I also have the TC Helicon, which is a mic pre, as well as some effects units. So it's got reverb, delay, echo, phaser, as well as harmonizer, as well as auto tune or pitch correction. That's what they call it. So it's got in there as well if I need hardware auto tuning. And I do have my Ultra Voice Pro, which is VX2000. Again, it's a mic pre. It's dedicated for vocal and voiceovers. I do have my Composer Pro XL from Behringer, which is a 2-channel compressor. And then I have my Ultracurve DEQ 2496, which is at the output stage as well. And then patch bay underneath that. So I can, through the patch bay, I can connect my microphones directly into the inputs of these mic pre's, whichever one I choose. And the outputs of those mic pre's will be patched through my mixer. So I can have the tonality and the characteristics of, let's say, the tube right up there, or some pitch correction if I need to use a special pitch shifting, or some voiceover work when I'm doing. This is really great for voiceover, the Behringer VX2000. And I can also patch some compression here as well, analog compression. Usually this is great for guitars and synthesizers and things like that to compress. The Behringer ones work really, really well. Now, my speakers are the PreSonus Aris E8. I still use them. I've been using them for probably 4 or 5 years now. I'm really happy with them. I really enjoy them, and they provide ample sub-frequencies as well as top end. Next to it is my Monkey Banana Gibbons. They're small 4-inch speakers, so I can actually compare the two and see how it actually sounds on 2 different speaker systems. And they are connected to my patch bay as well. As you can see with this patch lead, at the moment I'm patching through my Studio 1824 into my DEQ 2496 into the speakers. The inputs of the speakers are actually connected to my DEQ 2496, which has a real-time analysis in there, as well as room equalization. I've done a couple of videos on them. So the outputs from either my Studio Live 24 or my Studio 1824 audio interfaces or mixes are connected to the input of my DEQ 2496, which then the outputs of that is connected to the speakers. So it doesn't matter what I'm listening to, whether through my mixer or through my audio interface, the outputs go through here and into there. And having room analysis with microphone that listens to the room and adjusts the frequency to equalize and balance and pretty much flatten out the speakers for my room, it works really great. That means I don't have to worry about it. Doesn't matter what I'm listening to, I'm assured that it's a pretty flat response from my speakers. Now, at the bottom of the desk, I also have a few more gear that I can talk about. I've got my PowerRite Pro 10 from Samsung. This is the power conditioner. So all these gears that you see on my desk, including the mixer, the audio interfaces, everything is connected through that. So that way, any surge and variation in voltages and currents is protected by that unit. And if you've got this many audio gear, I would highly recommend to get one of them. It will save you headache and pain. Underneath that, I have my 4-channel headphone amplifier from Alto, then my Alto compressor, my DoD compressor, my Squeeze from McKee compressor, and my 4-channel compressor from Behringer, which hardly ever gets used. And all of these are patched into my patch bay that I can patch through if I need to use any of these compressors. These are the ones which are not normally or regularly used, so that's why they're sitting at the bottom. All my regular ones are sitting at the top. And underneath that, I do have a tape deck, because I do like to convert from tapes to CDs or MP3, and also a VHS, a 4-head VHS player. So I do also conversion from VHS to MP4, old movies, and more like, I say, weddings and family movies, home videos and things like that. I also convert them. And finally, a pull out draw for my 61 key keyboard. This is the M Audio Axiom Pro 61. It's semi-weighted keys, and it's got all the controls, sliders and pads and knobs and transport controls and everything. I don't need to explain. So this is the keyboard that I use when I'm arranging. If I need any VST instruments, I can just sit there and play and record, and Faderport becomes really, really handy because I can put it right there and record and loop and record things if I needed to. And when I'm finished, it slides out of the way for me to do mixing. And here my clients can sit down and relax during recording sessions. Here we can actually discuss projects and businesses and ideas and creativity. And of course we could have nice coffee over that if they like to have a coffee. It's always a great thing, some drinks and lollies as well. It's all comfort. It's really important that when you are being creative, your clients are also comfortable and enjoying that creative moments, and ideas just pop up. So this is where my clients, as well as sometimes myself, I rest. And to the right of that is the messy side of the room, but usually the most busy side. Here I store all of my microphones, additional microphones there. I've got those boxes there you see are cables. You can never have too many cables. So when you are in a recording session and people bringing their equipment and short of cables, you've got to have the cables. Otherwise, you're going to not be able to have the chance to actually record. So for that reason, I've got lots of cables there and few other things and that become handy in the studio. And the star instrument of the room is my Pearl Roadshow drum kit. All mic'd up, ready to go whenever we need to. I just have to connect the cables into my stage box and where we go to record it. Haven't had that many sessions, but it's there. Had few sessions as part of a live recording. But a lot of the times, even when I'm using drum samplers or drum machines like Easy Drummer or any of the drum sounds, I tend to sort of add maybe a snare or a tom or a splash just to give that liveliness into the drum production of the music. So just add that bit so it becomes really handy. As you all know, I'm not really a drummer, but I do play and I do practice to record, and that's how I learn. I specifically purchased this drum kit so that I can actually learn how to record in a studio. Even though I've done a lot of live miking and live mixing of drums, it's a completely different ball game when you are trying to record. So that's why I bought it, and for practice reasons, and it does get used as well. Eventually it'll pay itself off. And moving along, I don't have many guitar amps here. I just have a PV Viper. I had it for many times. It gets used every now and then for practices and things like that, because most guitar players bring their own pedals and guitar amps if they need to. And I also have a Behringer Ultrabass BX 300 or 300, yep, which is a bass guitar amp as well. I don't believe I ever use it to record it, but for practice purposes, they can come in and plug it in and practice it. So that's all I have as far as guitar amps. And this is my stage box, or a stage snake, if you like to call it. All my microphones get connected right there, as well as some outputs, let's say for headphones or some other systems, or if I need to reamp, comes there. So they all get connected, like my drum set. Happily can connect all microphones into there, and then all of that with that thick cable goes behind and gets connected into my Studio Live 24. As to other musical instruments, that's my practice Fender Squier Strat. I use that to practice, and sometimes musicians can come in and use that to record certain parts. And then I've got my Ibanez 4-string bass guitar, and my Epiphone SG5. This actually does not belong to me because it's got an Apple logo. It's my son's. So, but it happily sits there. Bit heavy for me to use actually. And of course, I forgot to show you, these are my acoustic panels, and they really nicely control the acoustics of the drum in this drum area. And you might also actually see some more acoustic things and some boxes behind there that take care of some of the sub-frequencies. When recording, it turns out really nice and tight. Now, of course, the other most heavily used instrument in this studio is my microphone. This is my Rode NT1, and it's always there, ready, plugged in, ready, set to go. This is my most go-to and most loved microphone. A lot of musicians or vocalists, they come in, they try this microphone, they really enjoy it, they like it, so it stays there. Even though I have a whole cabinet of microphones for a variety of vocal ranges and vocal tonalities, as well as for, you know, guitar, reamping and all that. But for voiceover, for vocal recording, everything pretty much gets used to by this Rode NT1. And it's got the reflector there just to stop some of the room reflections coming back, so we can get nice, clear and dry sound that I can get for my vocal recordings. And in my microphone cabinet, you can see I've got my MXLs, my Genesis tube microphone, 550, 551, and so on. I've got my Shure microphones, as well as Rode and PreSonus ones. And underneath that, you can see I've got my JTS mic set and few under there as well. Well, this is my studio, recording Studio 9. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it gave you enough insight of my workflow, where things are at and how things actually work in here, in this creative environment. Till next time, as always, thanks for watching and have a great time making music. Cheerio, guys.